Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face while you're sleeping.
11 lottery winners who lost everything. We've all dreamed about winning the lottery and how we would spend the money, but very few people actually see that dream come true. But just thinking about winning a lottery gives you visions of a trouble-free life. Unfortunately, about a third of the people who win the lottery find themselves broke within just a few years. The money often attracts greedy people who believe that they are entitled to some of the winnings. Family, friends, even strangers have no problem requesting small fortunes. Many become angry if they're not given exorbitant amounts of money. And if it's not other people, the lottery winners become obsessed with the lifestyle and blow their winnings on exotic vehicles, shopping sprees, fancy homes, and lavish vacations. Before long, they find themselves in a worse situation than they were before their winning moment. Anyway, here are 11 lottery winners who lost everything. Let's go. Number 11. Lisa Arkand. The very first thing Lisa Arkand did when she won the lottery was throw a $3,000 party for her friends. The single mother won $1 million on the lottery, but the money would not last long. It took less than 4 years for Arkand to find herself behind on bills. Arkand took her winnings and purchased a house with new furniture, splurged on a couple of trips, enrolled her son into a Catholic school, and opened her dream restaurant. She spent $50,000 from a savings account to help start the seafood restaurant, but business was slow at first. The business never picked up, and she had to close the restaurant when she could no longer afford the bills and found herself in debt. Number 10. Martin and Kay Tott. A couple that regularly bought lottery tickets of the same number missed a weekly drawing, and it cost them big time. Martin and Kay Tott purchased lottery tickets each week with the same numbers: 6 for his birthday, 7 for her birthday, 11 for their engagement date, 23 and 32 for their ages when they met, and 44 for his grandmother's house number. The Totts saw a news bulletin that someone in their area had won the lottery, but the winning ticket had been unclaimed. They immediately recognized that the winning numbers were theirs, but there was one big problem. They could not find their ticket. Martin contacted the lottery company Camelot to try and prove that the numbers were theirs, but the company ultimately told them that they would not receive the winnings. Camera footage at the convenience store proved that they bought the lottery ticket. He fought Camelot in court for years, but was never successful. The situation consumed his life so much that his wife divorced him. He started drinking heavily, and he never received that money. He later found happiness with a new career and girlfriend and is trying to be grateful for what he has, but they never received any money from the lottery.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that will take just 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell and you get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
Number 9. Lara and Roger Griffiths. Lara and Roger Griffiths were just an ordinary working-class couple residing in West Yorkshire when they hit the $2.4 million jackpot. The couple even quietly celebrated at home with a bottle of champagne and Indian takeout. That simple celebration would be the last day of their ordinary lives, though. Within 1 week of winning the lottery, the Griffiths quit their jobs, purchased a convertible Audi, and stayed at a 5-star hotel during their trip to Dubai. They also upgraded to a nicer home, furnished the home with fancy furniture, enjoyed more shopping sprees, and went on more lavish vacations. Their lives started spiraling out of control as Roger began drinking and Lara spent the money on making herself look better. The prize money soon dwindled down to almost nothing, and the couple ended up filing for divorce. Take notes while we narrate. Never, ever consider the lottery money as never-ending source of cash, because boy, when it runs out, it isn't pretty at all. Number 8. Freddie Young. Freddie Young was part of a group that played the lottery together, and they were actually lucky enough to see their numbers pop up as winners in February 2011. The group won a $46 million jackpot, and each person in the group received a $1.6 million cash payout. Due to Young's actions, he was only able to enjoy that money for a few months. In May 2011, Greg McNichol was murdered outside of an apartment building that he owned. McNichol and Young's daughter were arguing over 2 months of unpaid rent, and Young shot and killed McNichol. Young claimed he did not realize he was holding the weapon until it was fired, but a jury ultimately found him guilty. Young was sentenced to 25 to 30 years in prison. McNichol's wife filed a wrongful death lawsuit, and a judge froze Young's money. And we all know what happens when the government freezes money. It is gone. Number 7. Willie Hurt. In 1989, Willie Hurt won $3.1 million in the Michigan Super Lotto, but it did not take long for him to find himself broke and in prison. His life spiraled downhill as he got a divorce, lost custody of his children, and started using drugs regularly. In 1991, he was arrested for murdering a woman over crack cocaine. Wendy Kimmy was found dead at the Berkwood Inn after being shot in the head. Hurt had been rooming at the inn for about 3 weeks. Several witnesses claimed they had heard Kimmy and Hurt arguing, and they believed that he was angry because she was unable to find any crack cocaine. He was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation and would face up to life in prison if convicted. Number 6. Janet Lee. Janet Lee won $18 million in the Illinois lottery in 1993. She chose to take yearly installment payments of about $620,000. Lee was very generous with her winnings and spent most of her yearly payments in philanthropic causes and political contributions. Her contributions made her popular among several politicians and earned her seats at dinner next to Bill Clinton and Al Gore. The Washington University School of Law placed her name in the reading room because of her generous giving. She gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left to give. In 2001, Lee sold the rights to her annual payments and filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. She claimed to have only $700 left and more than $2.5 million in debt. Number 5. Suzanne Mullins. In 1993, Suzanne Mullins won a lottery worth $4.2 million and elected to receive annual payments. The generous woman planned on sharing her winnings with her family, but the money was short-lived. Within 5 years of winning the lottery, Mullins' bills began to stack up. She turned to a financial foundation for a loan in hopes of catching up. Mullins claimed she was going into debt after paying medical bills for her son-in-law that totaled $1 million. About 10 years after winning, she was broke and owed the foundation more than $150,000, which they sued her for. Number 4. Bud Post. William Bud Post may be one of the unluckiest winners of the lottery in history. In 1988, Post won a whopping $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery. He was broke and living off of disability paychecks when he hit the lottery. But more money meant more problems for Post. It only took 3 months for Post to blow through his money and find himself in debt. Within 2 weeks of receiving his first annual payment of $500,000, Post purchased a restaurant, a used car lot, and an airplane. Months later, he found himself in $500,000 worth of debt. His family had him invested in worthless ventures, and his landlord convinced them to hand over a third of his cash. And this was not even the worst news for Post. His brother was arrested for hiring a hitman to kill Post and his 6th wife. He ultimately filed for bankruptcy, served a brief time in prison for shooting at a bill collector, and died in 2006 from respiratory failure. Number 3. Evelyn Adams. We all understand that the chances of winning the lottery once is extremely low, but imagine winning the lottery twice. That is exactly what happened to Evelyn Adams, a New Jersey convenience store worker. She won her first jackpot in October 1985 that totaled $3.9 million, and her second win brought her $1.4 million more in a lottery drawing in February 1986. When Adams received the money, she paid off her bills, purchased a new car, and set up a college fund for her daughter. She then became generous with her money and gave it away to people who requested financial aid, but her generosity would eventually break her. Not only was she giving her money away, but she also developed a bad gambling addiction. 20 years later, after her historic win, she found herself with no money and living in a trailer park. Number 2. Sharon Terabisi. Imagine winning $10 million and having nothing left to show for it a decade later. 35-year-old Sharon Terabisi from Hamilton, Ontario, won the Ontario lottery that gained her $10,569,000. When she first received her winnings, she immediately divided the money among her family. Her parents received $1 million, and $1.75 million was split amongst her siblings. She was also generous to others by buying houses, paying people's rent, and offering loans for business ventures. She was a bit reckless with the money as time progressed, and she purchased a Hummer, Mustang, Charger, and an Escalade along with several vacations to locations such as Cancun and the Caribbean. It did not take long for her to realize that the money was running low, and the remainder of her winnings was put into a trust for her 6 children, which will become available when they turn 26. Terabisi is now back to the working class, where she has a part-time job, lives in a rented house, and rides the bus. Number 1. Abraham Shakespeare. Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million in the lottery, and he took a lump sum of around $17 million. He was insistent that the money would not change him. Shakespeare had always been a kind-hearted man who helped those in need, and he intended to stay that way. Unfortunately, Shakespeare's kindness became common knowledge. People would walk up to him on the streets and bombard him with their hard luck stories. He could not resist helping them. Shakespeare was equally generous with his friends, and his kindness was rapidly depleting his bank account. He met a woman, Doris Moore, who offered to help him manage his money. Moore opened an account with Shakespeare's money. She spent $1 million on expensive cars and lavish vacations. It was not enough, though. Moore eventually wanted all of his money. She shot Shakespeare twice in the chest, and she buried his body in a field. She told his friends and family that he had left town, wanting to escape the people who kept asking for money. Moore pretended that Shakespeare was alive for months. She sent Shakespeare's son gifts. She sent messages from Shakespeare's cell phone. She staged sightings of Shakespeare. She even hired someone to pose as Shakespeare to call his mother. Shakespeare's family was not fooled by Moore. They reported him as missing. Police soon found his body and they immediately suspected Moore. She was arrested, found guilty, and sentenced to life in prison without parole.